Welcome back to Empowered and Out, the coach forward, heart centered podcast, where we explore what it means to live boldly, honestly, and creatively, no matter where you are in the world. I'm your host, Jonathan Barbie, career purpose and confidence coach, and advocate for authentic driven living at home and at work. Today, I'm joined by someone whose work spans continents and mediums, the incredible Laurier Tiernan. Laurier is an interdisciplinary queer artist who divides their time between Japan and Canada. Their writing has appeared across 3 continents. Their voice has been featured on NHK, commercials, and audiobooks, and their music has aired on over 100 radio stations worldwide. Their first full book of poetry, 55 Ways to Survive, launched this year through Derville and Uprout Publications. And since 2022, they've hosted Tiernan Depuis Tokyo on CKRP in Alberta. We're diving into creativity, survival, identity, chronic illness, book tours, queer joy, and why Laurier believes fiercely in staying on this planet until the universe takes you back itself. So if you're a longtime listener or tuning in for the first time, I'm so glad you're here. And Laurier, I'm thrilled that you are here. Welcome to Empowered and Out.
Thank you for having me, Jonathan.
Well, so we just chatted about this just briefly off air, but let's just get into it. I mentioned in the introduction your book, 55 Ways to Survive. So what can you tell me about your new book?
It's my first full book. I have been a writer for years in journalism and in poetry and other things. And finally, last December, a publisher in my home province said, let's make this happen and let's release a full book of your poetry. And it's an illustrated poetry book. I'll see if I can find, hey, there's a little fire.
Oh, very nice.
Sacredness of fire. And I'll find another one. This is fun for the podcast as well, pansy, because, that was just like the word queer, the word pansy was used against us for years. And I've kind of embraced it because I've always been a sissy ever since I was a small child. I like to embrace sissy as well. So yeah, the book came out in August and I did a book tour and it's a bilingual book, 55 Ways to Survive and in French, 55 voies de survie. Every poem is both in French and in English and it's illustrated, as I said, and it chronicles a passage from the darkness to the light to give people hope. As you kind of said in the introduction, my goal with basically all my art is to give people the confidence to believe that if they just persevere beyond all obstacles, that they can achieve most of their heartfelt desires. And I actually feel like I'm living proof because I was born with Marfan's syndrome, which was at the time when I was a child, often claimed the lives of people before they were 40. It has a lot of unpleasant symptoms, but most of the dangerous ones are the fact that our blood vessels are weaker than most people's. And they can just let go. And that's what happened to me when I was 34. My aorta just let go. What was I going to say? Yeah, so I was born with Marfan syndrome, raised in poverty. My mother, God bless her, whenever I brought up something that I wanted to do, like oil painting or a piano or guitar or whatever, she always said in French, c'est trop cher, which means it's too expensive. So by the time I was 10, I thought everything was too expensive and everything was impossible. And I had many, many other obstacles like that in my life. And but despite all those obstacles, I just persevered somehow and finally have achieved at this point in my life most of my life goals. And as I said, I believe if I can do it, I'm not smarter or more capable than most people. Anybody can do it. So I really want to encourage everybody to pursue their ideal lives.
I love that. So was there a specific moment when you realized that this book needs to exist now?
Gosh. Well, I'm sorry if my answers are too long. If they are too long.
No, you're fine. Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to ask in advance before we continue on with the interview so I can make the answers shorter if you wanted them shorter. Long story short, I was writing like a house on fire in high school. And my English teacher expelled me for writing too much poetry and not paying enough attention to what she was saying.
Oh, wow.
And so I kind of gave up the dream. I thought maybe this is God's punishment and maybe I'm not meant to do this. But then in 2001, one of my friends on Facebook had posted that there was an art gallery in Canada that was looking for LGBTQ submissions for an all LGBTQ exhibit of various artists. And I thought, all of a sudden the light went on in my head and I thought, maybe I can submit handwritten poems as art. and 2 of them got accepted, and I thought, "Oh, okay." So I allowed myself to pursue the dream of being published by a magazine, and rather quickly, I was accepted by 2 American magazines, and I thought, "Okay." And all of a sudden, a fire was lit in my heart, and I thought, "What if I could allow myself to dream that I could finally make a full book?" And I just went at it like crazy every day for hours and hours and hours, and finally, I had my book, and I started submitting to publishers, and many said, "Yeah, oh, yeah, you're talented, but it's not what we're looking to publish." And I thought, "Okay." And then finally, last December, as I said, my publisher in Alberta, in my home province, said, "Let's do this." And I was totally shaken, and it was kind of at that moment, and when different people started getting tastes of it, like in the media and stuff like that, ahead of time, ahead of the release, many people were saying this is an important book. And I was like, "Really, really important, my book?" And so I started to feel, okay, maybe it was like, I have a friend who used to be the Billboard magazine chief for Asia, and he said that he believes that success is a combination of talent, timing, and luck. And I think a lot of my career has lacked the timing somehow. You know, the locking in of your will with the universal will. When the
Mhm.
when the two wheels lock and everything goes up. But this book, luckily, has found that window. So that's, yeah. It's a long answer, but that's, yeah. It was last December when my publisher said, "Let's do this." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Maybe this is time." Yeah.
Well, that's great. I mean, sometimes timing is everything.
Mm,
It hit at the right time,
mm,
and we'll go into possibly into a little bit later, but you've had a lot going on
mm,
recently, but besides the book, you
mm,
just had a tour. So you've been very busy because when we
mhm,
first chatted,
mm,
you were getting ready to go on that tour.
mhm.
So you're a very busy person. So
I'm like somebody told me the other day that I was talented, and I said, like the late Rush drummer Neil Peart would say, I don't know about talented, but I'm just relentless." So when you say I'm busy, I try and not be busy. I have a media figure who also says that it's sometimes it's good not to be, or often it's good not to be busy, because busy can be hectic and we can be confused. But I'm just relentless in the pursuit of what I want to accomplish, and so I guess that's what it is mostly.
well, that's great. All right. So, listeners and viewers, just so you know, we're going to talk a little bit about suicide. And
Yeah.
so, just a fair warning, just to put that out there.
Mhm.
So, you've talked openly about surviving multiple suicide attempts as a
Or
teen. First, thank you for trusting me with that information. Well, how did sharing that part of your story change the conversations you had with yourself and others?
It felt very liberating because I failed 4 OD attempts as a teen without telling anybody, and I was chronically suicidal. Well, I told a few close friends, but I didn't tell. I told, I think, 2 close friends offhand without really discussing it, and I didn't tell my mother or anybody really until I was an adult. And kind of just bringing this out into the open, even publicly in the media, felt very liberating, and felt
Well, and I feel it probably was a lot of queer youth right now. A
Mm,
lot suicide is it's a very
mm,
big topic, and it
mm.
unfortunately a lot of queer youth attempt suicide. So, what would you want to say to queer youth or anyone struggling to hear most from you today?
This is a very dangerous thing to say in an interview, I guess, and maybe you can edit it out if you want later. But something that really hit home, I've known this factually, like from reading books and stuff for years, but it only really hit home this year that when someone really wants to commit suicide, generally they won't tell anybody. And I didn't all 4 times when I tried to OD as a teen.
Mhm.
So I'm afraid sometimes that often nothing a person can say can steer another person clear of that. I worry about that sometimes. But if we can reach people before they reach that point, that's the most important thing. So what would I say? Can you repeat the question? Sorry again.
Yeah, no, that's fine. What do you want queer youth or anyone struggling
Mm,
with suicide to hear most from you today?
okay. Yeah, as I was just saying, I guess the important thing is, as I've realized in recent months, is to catch people before they get that to that point.
So probably just be more observant
Yeah,
to see,
I was formulate my answer, but what I was wanting to say, I think, is that be less, if you can, be less influenced, or mind the critics and your surroundings less and center yourself more as much as you can on your own experience in the present. Because I believe personally that we're always guided by our higher self. There's lots of spiritual schools of thought that believe that part of us is up in or up, at a higher
Mhm.
frequency than our physical body. And that part of it is down here in the physical body at the lower resonance. And I think our higher self never wants us to take ourselves out, because I believe that this earth, this experience as a human, is essentially like grades of school. And if you don't learn the tuition that you're here to learn, you're gonna have to do it again. I have very clear memories. They became more and more clear as I got older, of having a past life in Victorian London. That was my previous life, and
Oh, very nice.
I shot myself.
Oh.
And I I realized little by little in this life that my recurrent suicidal tendencies between the ages of 14 and 26 in this life were leftover tuition from the previous life. It's like, this is not the answer. If you cut yourself out of the test, like, it's like if you're in school and you're in the middle of writing an exam and you hate it and you run out, you're probably going to have to write that fucking test later somehow to graduate. So, yeah, that's what it is. I would say stay with it. Be gentle with yourself. Center yourself in the now and in yourself, and take deep breaths and listen to your real self in the now, not anything else. And you will always, or at least most of the time, slowly but surely feel that you'll understand that is not that, or rather, not even that suicide is not the answer, but rather that there are always things pulling you forward. There's always something. Yeah. There's always something that you want to do, that you want to accomplish, that you want to feel, that you want to see. And those are parts of our tuition for our souls. And it's the most important thing.
I like that. It's interesting because I had a conversation with someone last night about suicide and with teens, and it's very interesting because there's so many things that I think they don't get, we don't listen to it because it does sound kind of, for lack of a better word, dumb. But you hear now, there's always a talk of it gets better, especially as teenagers. I was with this person I was chatting with last night. We said things actually get better after high school. When you get out of there, life actually does get a little bit better. There's a lot of bullying, there's a lot of pressure. And when you get out of a little bit of those situations, and I like what you said, listen to yourself. Listen, don't get away from the social media. Thankfully, we didn't have social media back when we were growing up. Thankfully. And I think that, I mean, heck, we didn't have cell phones. Like, there
Yeah.
was nothing. So we didn't have to worry if someone wanted to, quote unquote, bully us. They had to do it right then and there. Like,
Yeah.
there wasn't going onto social media and attacking someone and saying it, whatever. It just happened right then and there. And I think in some ways it was a little bit easier. But I agree, like what you said is like, listen to yourself. Let's turn away anything that's, because most of what we're seeing, and it even happens with us today, there's so much negativity and so much attacking of people, and be it in every light, the way we look, how we dress, how we talk, everything, who we like, who we are, potentially, like sexually, or how we, identify, whatever it might be. And just listen to yourself. I love what you said, because I feel that listen to yourself and listen to that higher power, or whatever you believe, because I
By
feel
yourself.
that that's what's going to help you move forward, instead of thinking that you need to listen to someone else.
I love what you said about when you reminded me of the old PSA slogan, "It gets better." Because on my book tour this summer, I was referring exactly to that PSA slogan, "It gets better." And I wanted to say, I want to tell all youth and all people who struggle, it can get better.
Mm-hmm.
It gets better. As you said, in real time, for someone who's struggling, or for the youth who are struggling, is bullshit, because it gets better. Well, it's not better now. Now, what do I do
Yeah,
with this? But
exactly.
if you know it can get better, then you can see, okay, well, how? You're like, what steps can I take? And then as you start envisioning the steps and planning little steps, even little small ones, you can start building little by little, bridges of hope. to the future. And that's, part of the important, part of the more is they are important steps on the path to a better life, a happier life.
For sure. So you perform, create, and you live across Japan and Canada, but
Mm,
also across languages.
mm.
How does that shape your identity as an artist?
Wow. Well, my mother came from a French Canadian family, and she addressed me. We spoke mostly, or almost entirely in French. And my father's family, my late father's family, was Slavic, and he spoke to me mostly in English. And I grew up bilingual, both in my household and in school. I went to a bilingual elementary school, French junior high school, and bilingual high school. I think it influenced me in many ways, in that it opened my mind to the universe in a way that a monolingual existence might not have. And I think looking back, as Steve Jobs would say, looking back at the points of light in your life, looking back, I can see that it resonated really well. I'm really glad that I was born or raised in a bilingual household, because I identify as queer, but I'm bisexual.
Mhm.
And looking back on my life, I'm like, oh wow, the bilingual, bisexual, there are many, many things that line up like that. And I think it helped me see things from different perspectives, and helped me be a more empathetic person, and helped me maybe be a more creative person, because it helped me see things from a greater, a perspective of more diversity. And then moving to Japan even, kicked that open even further, bringing a third language in, a third culture in, many more perspectives, many more influences. So I guess that's, yeah.
So, does the way that you express yourself, either English, French, or Japanese, change the way the art comes out?
I make no pretense to expressing myself in Japanese. I'm not fluent, and I gave up studying years ago because my manager said there's no point. They said if you were a businessman or a doctor, it would be important for you to be bilingual in Japanese. But they said there's no point in wasting your time in becoming fluent as an artist. And also, they said most of the foreign artists who are most respected in Japan are not fluent in Japanese. When Japanese people generally want to enjoy a foreigner's art, they want to see the foreign experience. They don't want to see somebody struggling to fit themselves into the Japanese box. But sorry, can you repeat the question again?
So, how does the way you express yourself,
Hmm.
be it either, I guess, English or French,
Hmm.
change the way that your art comes out?
Okay. I would say this is easy, actually. I should have started with this. I thought of this a few months ago, or I finally came to this conclusion that, for me, French, since I was mostly raised by my mother because my parents divorced when I was young, French has always been the language of the heart for me, and English has always been the language of the mind. And so I think I'm more emotion based when I'm working in French, and I'm more logic based and more precise, or more brutal when I'm dealing with English. A lot of my English heroes, like Henry Rollins and John Lydon and stuff like that, were very, very brutal artists. They weren't coloring and warming things up for people. Yeah, I guess that's it.
So, earlier in our conversation, you mentioned living with Marfan syndrome and a chronic depression.
Mm.
How has chronic illness shaped your creative life or your resilience?
Yeah. Actually, somebody pointed out some weeks ago. I asked, why has my life been so difficult? And they said, actually, your illness has made you more resilient. And I thought, oh, okay. And it's funny. I have a cousin who's a professional counselor. He gets hired by different governmental bodies to take care of kids in trouble, and in emotional trouble, mental trouble. And he pointed that out as well. Challenges, if they don't break you, what is that? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yeah.
So I think the chronic struggles and the chronic fear of losing my life has actually made me a more resilient person overall. I didn't think of that before. And facing chronically the fact that I might die before 40 growing up, actually, I think made me more perseverant in my art, because it almost made me feel fearless in the end. And when I wasn't fearful, I went through phases of feeling fearful of dying, but also it made me less fearful when pursuing things, because, like, death death might take me out at any moment, so I don't have to be afraid of anything else, I
Yeah.
guess, in a weird way.
I like how you mentioned the quote, "If it doesn't kill you, it only makes you stronger." When I was in high school, my swim team, our sophomore, I think it was our sophomore year, our state, we got long sleeve shirts for state to wear when we were going to the high school state swim meet, and that was our quote on the back of
Oh,
our
nice.
shirts, because we thought it was a perfect way to describe us. If it
Mhm.
doesn't kill us, it's going to make us stronger. We just kept working and working and working,
Mhm.
and in the end, we won the state meet. We
Amazing.
ended up scoring the most points ever scored, and is in the state where I was at the
Amazing.
time. So it really did, like, really, we took it to heart, because it's like, we're
Mhm.
going to work our tails off. We're going to work really hard to make sure that we come out on top, and in the end, we did. So
Amazing.
uh, and it was such an amazing time, and it showed that you really could do anything you put your mind to.
That's fantastic. I love that story. Thank you for sharing it.
You're welcome. So, are there any practices, rituals, or boundaries that help you protect your energy while touring and creating?
When we were talking earlier about listening to yourself,
Mhm.
I think that's hugely, hugely, hugely important. You were talking about how social media in the 21st century can be such a hindrance for young people and people who struggle because it's always distractions. And that's also a part of this. When you're on tour, it's really important to keep checking in with yourself. Am I tired? Am I hungry? Am I thirsty? Often we don't, this is a cliche maybe, but often we forget to drink water, and we forget that the human body is what, 60% water or more? Is it 70%
Yeah, I
something?
think it's something like that. Yeah.
You need to stay hydrated, so keep on checking in with yourself. Am I drinking enough water? Have I drank enough water? Do I need to take a break? Do I need to enjoy something funny on YouTube or something to bring my spirit up? Do I need a bit of sugar to raise my blood sugar? Whatever it is, keep checking in with yourself on a regular basis. That's something that is very important on tour, I think. And sleep. You definitely, when you're constantly in motion, it can be, in terms of moving from place to place, it can be very exhausting. So it's definitely important to make sure that you mind your sleep. Apparently, Prince. I found out some months ago in an interview or something online. Apparently, Prince used to sneak off from the fabulous parties that he used to throw. He used to throw crazy, wild, bacchanalian parties, and he used to sneak off early, and people confirmed later that in these interviews, after he was dead, that he would go to sleep. He minded his sleep, and, yeah, it's super important.
I mean, you're 100% correct. I mean,
Mm,
you need the sleep for your
mm,
energy.
mm,
And we really do need, in a way, we don't need all the different other types of liquids, but water is very
mm,
important. We don't need to have it, no matter what some will say, we don't
mm,
really need the caffeine.
mm,
We don't need the alcohol. We don't need
mm,
a lot of that. We really, water is one of the best things we could ever drink.
mm,
It's beneficial in so many ways.
mm,
It's good for our skin. It's good for our
mm,
body. It's good for just surviving on a daily basis. And now, granted, I live in a higher altitude. I'm in
mm.
Colorado, and
Oh,
we definitely drink water.
mm.
It's part of our daily
High over
routine.
there.
And if we don't,
Mm,
yeah, it's very dry.
mm,
And if we don't drink the water, we will have very, very severe headaches. And you'd think, oh, just because we're over 5,000 feet above sea levels.
mm,
People don't really think too much of it. But
mm.
after growing up at like 100 and something feet above sea level, and now I'm like over 5,000, I
Wow.
really, I drink water constantly all day long. So correct me if I'm wrong. So you're about to embark. Is it true that you're about to go on your book tour, or you
No, it
just,
happened, in,
okay, that's right.
July, August, September.
Okay.
August, September, sorry.
So,
It happened
no, no,
August,
no, you're
September.
fine.
Edit that.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about your month, your book tour,
Okay.
doing it all on your own.
Yeah.
What part of the DIY process surprised you the most?
This might be inconsequential to your listeners, but maybe I'd be burning bridges by saying this, but sometimes small towns think they're more important than they are. It's really annoying. I won't mention one in particular because it's dear to my heart, but I will mention another that's dear to my heart. Victoria, British Columbia is a place where I lived as a young queer person in my 20s. I lived there for a handful of years, and it's got a big queer stronghold, and I love it for that. But when I was trying to a book signing on this tour, it was nearly impossible, and a concert as well. And I started reaching out to certain people asking why, and they snidely said, "Oh, people from Victoria seem to think they're from New York." And I'm like, fuck, like, fuck. So it's been very challenging in that way, that the places like that you'd think would be easier to book are sometimes very difficult to book. And like, I've booked concerts all over the world. Like, it's surprising to me that sometimes that small Canadian towns would be difficult to book. Also, you're asking what surprised me most about the DIY process. The kindness of strangers or the kindness of people in your network. The unexpected kindness was also amazing. On this tour, nobody let me pay for anything.
Oh, wow.
And I was very interested to see that because as we know from Facebook and other things, there are so many people worldwide that want to piss on people's parades. You know, they just
Yeah.
can't stand. It's like crabs in a bucket. They just can't stand to see a crab try and get out of a fucking bucket. They have to pull them down. Or try to pull them down. But conversely to that we see on social media, when I was on tour, there was an amazing, just innumerable people. It was a shocking number of people that were just wanting to help me by any means possible, and I was really, really shocked and happy about that. Yeah, I guess those were the two most surprising things about the DIY process.
So you've said that LinkedIn, of all the
Mm,
platforms, is
yeah,
a place where you show your real,
mm,
artistic, queer, chronically
mm,
ill self.
mm.
Why does that matter to you?
I like that question a lot, Jonathan. I'd have to really, I should have formulated this in advance, but it matters to me because, as you know, for decades and centuries and God knows how long, people have been held back from opportunities. They've been discriminated against for whatever makes them different from those that are holding the power, from the cluster of people that are
Mm.
holding the power and the most power. And I think it's important for people to see me as I am so they can say, "Oh, Tiernan is effeminate, but Tiernan is an honorable person. I've seen him do a lot of good things for people in the media. Oh, maybe effeminate people aren't bad. Oh, Tiernan is bisexual? Oh, well, I had prejudices against bisexual. I thought they'd sleep with anyone, but Tiernan seems to be monogamous. Really? Oh, okay." So I think it's really important. Some people would say it's dangerous. I feel, I don't know, maybe it was partially an effect of growing up with a chronic illness and with suicidal tendencies. But I've reached a point where I think it's important, while respecting the space of other people and their boundaries, I think it's important to be your unbridled self to permit everybody else the space to do it too. Ani DeFranco, do you know Ani DeFranco, the folk singer?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, she has a lyric from a long time ago, something about the need to conserve all the spaces where I can be who I am. And I think it's important to be yourself so you can create spaces for other people to do the same.
I agree with you 100%.
Mm,
And it's interesting because I feel that for me,
mm,
as an LGBTQ plus coach, where I've been my most authentic and honest and real has been actually on LinkedIn. It's kind of
wow.
funny. Because I feel that because of all the people that I've had connected to me on like Facebook have been people from that I've known for like decades. You know, it's
Mm,
people that I've grown up with or I went to school with or now in or family and what so I don't always want to share everything because
mm,
sometimes when you have, and you probably understand this, when you have a public profile,
mm,
people sometimes just don't want to hide whatever they want to tell you
mm,
of their of opinion, good or bad, whatever it might be. And I've seen this on a few of the platforms that I've put even this podcast out on. I have, you know, a YouTube channel and where people obviously can watch, you know, this that they're watching this on. I had some unfortunate,
mm.
very inappropriate comments about some
Oh
guests
no.
that I've had in the past. everyone can voice their opinion. I respect anyone to voice their opinion, but when it's negative instead of attacking someone, I will get rid of the comment because it's inappropriate.
Yeah.
We were all created to be different. We're all created to be unique. And if you don't understand something, like you even just said about bisexuality, I'm going to be one who, when I had thought of people who are bisexual, it was kind of like, oh, well, they can sleep with that whoever. And it's like when you get that honesty and you get to so where people can see your real self, then they go, oh, wait, hold on. Same thing with like a trans person or someone who identifies as trans or lesbian or whatever it might be. We're all human. We all live lives in a certain way. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean we need to be attacked. And I feel that whatever you want to believe religiously, we were really created to be unique and different.
Surely.
We weren't created as robots. We weren't created we're here to make a difference. We're here to impact people. It's the reason I have this podcast. I want to help, inspire people. And with my coaching, I want to help, help people with finding their purpose, getting confident in what they do in the workplace. And how am I going to do that? I mean, at the end of the day, who cares if I'm LGBTQ, a gay male, that I'm a gay coach? Who cares? If I'm helping you get to where you want to be, that's all that matters.
100%. 100%.
And I feel that it's interesting because I have definitely seen on LinkedIn, I've seen a lot of honesty with people being themselves. And I love seeing that.
Yeah.
Especially those who recognize as trans and especially trans non-binary, because I feel that it is definitely a part of the LGBTQ plus community that personally I've struggled with on fully understanding. But then I also have had some amazing trans non-binary guests on. And what I've learned is it's not for me to understand necessarily, but it's for me to respect who they are and acknowledge them where they are and how they want to be, talked to, how they want to be, their pronouns, whatever, how they want to be spoken to. And I feel that when we do that and we learn to educate ourselves, then we can be whoever we want to be. Like, I feel that we had to, growing up in the 70s and 80s and 90s, very different to now. And I feel that in some ways you couldn't be how you wanted to be overall in some ways. And a lot of it could depend on where you grow up, who your family was, how your family was, were they conservative? Were they progressive? Were they whatever it might be. And in your case, like we always kind of joke, you're north of the border for like you're up in Canada, you're in the Canadians. Like, I love the honesty of Canadians. I find it, I love it. And it kind of flows a little bit even over to Europe. They're honest.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love the bluntness because it's like, why are we so shy in the United States? It doesn't make sense. Now, don't get me wrong. There are definitely some blunt people.
Yeah.
Be it who they might. But I feel that when you get to be real and honest and get to be yourself, I think the authenticity is huge. Now, caveat to that, obviously you may not always be able to be authentic, your true authentic self everywhere, especially in the workplace, unfortunately. But I feel that if you're authentic to yourself and kind of like what you referenced earlier, and we talked a little bit about when you listen to yourself and you can be comfortable with yourself, and especially your closest family, may that be your born family or your chosen family, just be yourself. And I love that you said that's where you can be. I love that LinkedIn is where you can be yourself. And I think it's great because I feel that when we can be vulnerable, I feel that it actually helps the community at large. I feel that they are going to be more attracted to us. And because if you're hiding it, people are like, what's wrong? What, if you only come out during Pride festivities or whatever it might be, and then all of a sudden you're back hidden. Why? You're hurting yourself more than helping yourself.
And humans, when you're saying, why are you hiding it? Humans are instinctive animals. Even if we don't think so, a lot of the time, we can feel things kind of instinctively, even if we cannot define them or see all the details. And when someone's hiding things, it feels shifty. And it makes us wonder why. Why are you hiding it?
Yeah.
Is it shameful? What's wrong? What are you hiding? And we don't feel good around those people. We feel uncomfortable. We don't want to spend time around those people. We don't want to talk to those people. So I do believe it's important to be, out loud and proud for sure.
So what do you wish more creatives and queer professionals, visible?
What do I wish more professionals and queer people understood about being visible? So I'm currently in a marriage, shockingly enough, with a woman. My publisher asked me, why do you feel it's important? Which was weird for me because she was the one who wanted to market me openly as a queer poet, which is fine because that's what I am. But she asked me, why do you think it's important to be visibly out despite the fact that you're in a queer, straight presenting marriage? And I said, it's important for me, just like when we were speaking about LinkedIn, it's important for me so that people can reach the conclusion of, oh, I guess, like if they have a prejudice in their heart or whatever against queer people, it's important for them to see, just like there are bad people everywhere, there are good people in the community. There are honorable people in the community. Maybe it's my prejudice, but I would be tempted to believe, and I do believe this, that there are more good people in the queer community per capita than in conservative, at least those of us who are, I will bring that forward as a caveat. Those of us who are living openly and honestly, there are more good people in that demographic of the queer community than there are in the conservative community. Because as we've seen on LinkedIn and in many news sources in the past, how many months has there been this year? That's so far 11 months. The avalanche of Republican people convicted of child porn and of sleeping with underage people. Yeah, it's just been an avalanche, just month after month, and often people in power, and they've been hiding, for a good reason, the fact that they're twisted and terrible in this way. So, yeah, no, I think that it's important. Sorry, can you repeat the question? I've done this 3 times today, but can you repeat the question?
What do you wish that more creatives and queer professionals understood about being visible?
Yeah, I think it's important to be visible so that people can understand that we're trustable and that we're not shameful, and that so that they can. It's almost in a very rough sense about like crouching down beside a dog and letting them sniff your hands. It's being open and showing the fact that there's nothing to fear, and that you're just a being existing and trying to get by and trying to just live your life like everybody else. And that also, as I was saying earlier in the conversation, allows other people vicariously to see you and say, oh, I guess I should allow myself to be me as well and to be more open as well, because it seems to be working for this person. They seem to be happy and successful, and they seem to be doing what they want to do. And that's, as I was saying earlier in the conversation as well, that's kind of my central message, or one of the central messages of all my art, is that I want to empower other people to believe that they can live the life that they want as well.
Awesome. I love that. And it is funny, just to go back with what you said about all of these Republicans that are what they're being caught with. Wait, it's not people in the LGBTQ plus
Yeah,
community? Oh, wait.
exactly.
No, it's not.
Exactly.
It's straight
No.
heterosexual men that are
Yep.
being caught.
Yep.
Yeah, listen to that, audience.
Listen
And
to that.
it's not the LGBTQ plus community. It's
No.
these supposed leaders
Yeah.
that you put into these positions,
Yeah.
get a minister, a senator, a congressperson, whatever it might be. Just realize that it is not our community, and it never has been. I
No.
find it always interesting where I remember this early on when I was even coming out. I just remember, we're not interested in any of that. Like that's gross.
Exactly.
It's like, it's funny to know that, like, someone like me, like, you're bisexual, but for me, like, I'm attracted to men and that's all I'm attracted to. I'm not attracted to a boy.
Yeah,
I'm attracted to a
exactly.
man.
We're
And
we're attracted to
so
men.
I'm attracted, and so yeah, we could talk for a long time
For sure.
and we're not going to. So you said you're an open book. So I want to ask you this. So what part of your story feels the most misunderstood and what part feels the most seen?
Okay. The part that feels the most misunderstood is the fact that thanks to my manager, I've been open about the fact that I'm a hereditary psychic medium.
Oh,
I
awesome.
inherited that I inherited that from 2 great-grandparents. A great-grandparent on my mother's side and one on my father's side were both, psychics, and I seem to have inherited that, and it became clearer and clearer as I got older and more more palpable and more usable. Many people, when we get back to the conservative, straight men, will say, "Whoa, why can't you get the lottery numbers?" Well, because this is not I'm not God. I can't see everything. I can see more. I can see more than the average person. Psychics is just someone who's highly intuitive. That means that we feel
Mhm.
more than the average person. We feel things that are beyond what most people can see. But we're not God. Well, none of us pretend to be God. We cannot see everything. That's the most misunderstood part of myself. What is the most understood? Probably the most understood thing. Like, I've got a childlike innocence to me, where you never have to worry that I'm hiding something. I think that's the most understood thing about me, and I think people feel very comforted, and often my partner and I have, or not often, once in a blue moon, my partner and I have, kind of house parties
Huh.
with a very limited number of people. We usually only invite 10 or 12 people. We prefer intimate gatherings, and people always leave or often leave saying that they feel healed. And I said, I found it strange at first, but then I realized that a space where you feel that no one is hiding anything and that you can just completely let your soul be open is rarefied. And I guess, yeah, it would be very healing for people. And that's another thing that I want to be for people. I want to be a source if I can. I mean, I don't want to work on it 24/7 because it would be exhausting, but indirectly, I want to be a source of healing for people. I want people to be able to come to me and talk to me, and regardless of who they are. And I want to who was it that said years ago, you should leave a space better than you came into it? And I want to leave people, once again, without working at it 24/7 because it would be exhausting. Indirectly, I want to always leave, if I can, people better than I came into their space. Like, often I will give people compliments if I feel them. I will never give compliments genuinely. I don't know if that's a word, ungenuinely, but anyway, without being genuine. But if I feel a
Yeah.
compliment, if I feel in my mind, in my heart, when I see somebody, I will give it to them. Nice shoes, nice shirt, whatever it is, because it is a genuine feeling and it makes them feel better and they'll pass that on. We know the classic, is this answer too long?
No, you're totally fine.
I'll go on for a second then. I saw something very tangible about the importance of this in the media recently. There's a woman who was elected to a post in the Japanese government who is, I found out, Japanese. Her father was American and abandoned her when she was very young. And now she's gone on this crusade that she wants to crack down on foreigners. And that's a villain's origin story. That's a villain's origin story. You know, if people if you mistreat people, they're possibly going to mistreat other people. So
Mhm.
instead of doing that, let's mindfully treat people well when we can. And ideally that will overflow and, as a chain reaction and help make the world a better place.
I love that. And I feel that when you treat people the way they should be treated, how you
Mm.
want to be treated,
Mm.
it just creates a more comfortable space. Like I love how
Yeah.
you said when your house parties that people said they just feel better. And
Mm.
I think that when you open your space up and you are just open, you're honest and you're having fun and whatever it might be. I think when people can be kind of referencing going back to what we've been talking about, when you can be yourself, your real self, your full self, you kind of like you just feel that weight lifted off your shoulders. You get to be yourself and there's
Mhm.
nothing hiding. And I feel that you just it's just a much better space. And a good example for just me personally, we just got done with the fall season of our fall concert of our 19th season of the choir that I'm in. And we have a brand new director. He is amazing. We had many people that came to our concert because obviously the choir's been around for 19 years. We had many people that came that have come to our concerts before and they said, you just feel like this was an amazing experience. You guys just felt like it looked like you guys were having fun, and
Mm.
it was just a fun experience. And it was you seemed to just love what you were singing and having a good time. And we were, I mean,
Mm.
100% we were. And I think a
Mm.
lot of it has to do with who our director is. We had a
Mm.
previous director. I was trying to explain it to someone the other day. He is We had a director that we had when I first started the choir 8 years ago, and he was a great director. He moved due to educational opportunities that he took, so he wasn't our director anymore. And he was a great director, but this director, to put it in a kind of almost a childish way, he's like him, but on crack. Like he has
Mhm.
a whole nother level to him that we didn't get to see from this previous
Mhm.
director. And I
Mhm.
feel that he challenges us. He
Oh,
tells us
nice.
if you're not worn out after the concert or after a rehearsal, then you haven't done your job.
Wow.
And I can tell you,
Mm.
Saturday night, our last weekend was our concert, and
You need to
Saturday
drink
night when
more.
we got done, I was exhausted. Like
Mm.
my partner and our friends were going out to dinner, and I was like,
Mm.
I can't. Number one, I got to get off my
Wow.
feet. Number
Oh, wow.
two, I don't want to talk. I don't want to
Oh,
sing. I
wow.
don't want to do anything because I have a whole nother concert tomorrow. And I
Right.
was just like, I want to be able to just chill, put my feet
Mm.
up, relax.
Mm.
And in the end, it helped my voice recover so that come the next day,
Mhm.
no problem. We were good. But it was really inspiring to
Mm.
hear people
Mm.
from people who had been in the choir before,
Mm.
especially to say, you guys are really having fun. You're not the same
Mm.
choir that even
Mm.
we were. You
Mm.
guys are in the same choir that we were in when I was there. And I was like, no, we're not. I said,
Mm.
and I joked with them. I said, that's why you need to come back.
Mm.
Come back and enjoy it because we're having fun. And I feel that creating those spaces
Mm.
is where, when we get to have fun and
Mhm.
we get to be ourselves and be around people who have a common purpose, it's just a much better environment. And I
Mhm.
feel that worrying too much about the hate and the
Mhm.
attacking of people doesn't make you a better person.
Mm.
It actually makes you that where more people are like, yeah, probably gonna avoid that person over there. They're not
Mhm.
they're all they're doing is attacking people all the time.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm not gonna turn that person off, or maybe I'm not gonna watch this movie because I saw they're nasty to media when they go
Um,
to press tours or things like whatever it might be. And I feel that when we put the positive light on a thing, stick with the positivity
mm. Mhm.
and I think that we get to go farther.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I feel that we get to create those spaces that everyone's gonna want to be in.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I like what you're saying. Yeah, for sure.
So when you think about the Laurier that you are today versus the Laurier from 10 years ago, what's
Mhm.
the biggest difference?
Okay, I'm 52 now. I'm 42. I was 42 10 years ago. I think the biggest difference is my confidence. I guess as someone who struggled with chronic depression most of my life, and maybe like a lot of artists, somebody pointed out the other day. Thinking about this actually reminds me of a famous saying from some years ago that I don't remember who said. It was, the problem with the world is that geniuses are full of doubt and idiots are full of confidence. But I'm not saying I'm a genius, but I think maybe it's part of the artist's path to doubt. It's like when we're bringing things into the world. I'm going on a huge tangent. I'm sorry. When we're bringing things into the world, it's a creative process. It's bringing something out of nothing, and so there's always uncertainty. So I guess that may be part of what plays into the lack of confidence. Finally, being published by a brick and mortar publisher in book form, and going on a press tour where even a university in my hometown invited me to come speak in their auditorium to their students about my life path, about my life journey. Um, it's felt very vindicating and very confirming that I have done something worthwhile and that everything that I had gone through was not for naught. So, yeah, I'd say that the biggest difference between my current self and myself 10 years ago is the amount of confidence and, yeah, just the amount of confidence, I guess. And the
I
amount of,
love that.
also the amount of being reassured that I've done good things and that that my work is valid.
Well, it's funny you say that because, of course, that's one of the things I help is with people getting their confidence
Mm.
back. But I do believe that as we get older, because I'm 51, turning 52 next month, I do believe as we age, we learn. We
Oh,
see the
sure.
mistakes we made.
We're
We
lucky, yeah.
see okay, we might even question ourselves. Well, why didn't we do this? Why did,
Mm.
I kind of jokingly say I hate the phrase, but I also get it. Like the good old YOLO, you only live once. Well, I feel
Mm.
that you have to put yourself out there
Mm.
because what's it going to hurt?
Mm.
If you try something, if you have a book, if
Mm.
whatever it might, to want to do it or have a podcast, whatever it might be. Do I want to be, let's be honest, do I want to be a Joe Rogan in the podcasting world? No, because actually I
Mm.
don't really like what he does. But
Mm.
for me, my voice is going to a very specific niche audience. I'm going to people now. Would I like it to be heard to maybe a broader audience? Of course I would. And who knows? Things are changing. Things are going to be happening, and a lot of fun's coming for my next season with my podcast. So who knows? It might actually get more ears or views. But I feel the confidence, like with you growing it with you, the biggest difference is confidence. For me, it's confidence as well.
Mm.
Because I feel that if I had confidence in certain things when I was younger, and certain things that I've done in my life probably would have turned out a little bit differently.
Mm.
Because a lot of times, let's be real, our parents sometimes have to push us to do
Mhm.
things because we may not have that confidence. But when we're adults, sometimes it might be our partner,
Mhm.
sometimes it might be our friends. We're like, okay, well, why don't you do that? In my
Mm.
case, being a coach, I have an accountability partner who's a fellow coach of mine.
Mm.
She's always pushing me and I love it. But she'll be
Mm.
like, okay, why aren't you doing that? Well,
Ah.
I don't know. Well, why not? What's holding you back?
Mm.
And I will say this, I have a lot more confidence in myself than I ever did as a
Mm.
teenager, for sure. Even 10 years ago. I mean, I've been here living in Colorado 10 years. I'm even different than from 10 years ago. Like
Mm.
my confidence is much stronger.
Mm.
So I love that. For me, I'm kind of the same way. Like
Mm.
my confidence has definitely grown. So, one last follow-up to this. What part of your journey, let me start that over. What's the part of your journey that you're proudest of right now?
Can I choose a few? Maybe.
Of course.
I guess this maybe is heavy-handed, but it's going cheesy. But going back to the book, my book, 55 Ways to Survive, is definitely got to be one of them. One of my proudest of my journey. Another thing that I'm proudest of my journey that I was thinking about before I started formulating my answer is that the fact that on the whole, I have lived as a person who has tried to empower people and encourage people and more than harm people. I don't know why. I'm not very read on psychology. I've read a lot, but not enough apparently. I don't know why it is that certain people are abused and go on to abuse other people, and some people are abused and go on to say nobody's getting abused on my watch. Like there's two camps, yeah? I don't
Yeah.
know why I chose the latter path. I don't know why I chose to go from darkness to the light as opposed to someone going, fuck, okay, I had darkness, you're going to have darkness. I don't know why I chose that path, but I am very proud of the fact that I have chosen to be in the light. When I was working for NHK is like Japan's PBS. When I was working for NHK some years ago, one of my favorite coworkers approached me because she found out that I was psychic, and she said, have you ever thought of joining the left-hand path? Because I'm interested. And the left-hand path in Wicca is dark magic.
Mm.
And I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. And I said, no, I serve the light. That's been one of my mantras for decades. I serve the light. I don't want to
Mm.
condemn anybody else choosing their own path, but I don't want to live in darkness. I don't want to live from a perspective of darkness. Sorry, I teared up a bit thinking about that. I want to live as a force for bringing good to people, bringing happiness to people, bringing freedom to people, bringing empowerment. That's a good one. Empowerment to people.
It's a good word.
Thank
That's
you.
why this hence the Empowered and Out podcast. That's why
There we
you're
are.
here. So, all right. So, before I let you go, Laurier, I have a few rapid fire fun questions for you. Just
Sure.
answer to whatever comes to you first. Rapid fire question. So, poetry or music if you had to pick only one for a year?
Wouldn't have thought I had said this 10 years ago, but poetry.
All right. City that creatively energizes you the most? Tokyo or Calgary?
No offense to Calgary, but Tokyo.
All right. What's a mispronunciation of your name that still makes you laugh?
I've got to forgive native English speakers, although they could Google it. People calling me Laurier. Laurier. I have an acquaintance who's a sound engineer in Tokyo who has known me for maybe over 20 years, who up until recently consistently called me Laurier, despite the fact that I had clarified it for him many times. So finally I put it we were talking in Messenger and I typed it out phonetically as many ways as I could. Lodi A, like look at A-Y for Trey, Lodi A, it's A. So yeah, that's, yeah.
All right. And one last, what's one thing you always pack for tour that has nothing to do with performance?
Maybe it has something to do with performance, but most people might not think. I have these wonderful Uniqlo boxer shorts that I don't know what they're made out of, but they're very silky and they hang very loose, almost like a short skirt with very thin material. And God, they are a godsend. For years, I was obsessed with the traditional like 1950s cotton boxer. I don't know why. I was just obsessed with these things, and I've had many that I've bought from the Gap in different designs. But when I discovered these really ultra thin Uniqlo, do you know Uniqlo, the Japanese fast fashion?
We actually used to have one in Denver before. Actually, we had one before the pandemic, and then they eventually closed. So I'm I'm familiar with it. Yeah,
they're Uniqlo boxer shorts that are all black, so they're useful on tour in case of accidents or sweating or whatever it is, laundry. They have a normal elastic waistband, but then they're very thin material. As I said, I have to Google what they are, but they're very thin, they're very lightweight, they're very gentle on your skin, and they dry really quickly if you have to wash underwear in a sink on tour or whatever it is. And gosh, yeah, no, that's one of my favorite things that are a must pack for a tour.
All right. Well, so Laurier, if you could leave our listeners with one piece of advice, whether about survival, creativity, or staying on this planet when things get heavy, what would it be?
I would say, from my own trial and error experience in my own life, if you can spend some time on a regular basis, make sure that you've got that planned out on a regular basis, like, daily if you can, every other day if you cannot do it every day. Spend some time regularly connecting with yourself, your higher self, whether that be in meditation, in sitting in the power. Sitting in the power is a spiritualist practice that you can Google online. It's a white light exercise that you pull white light into yourself. Spend some time on a planned, regular basis connecting with yourself, and or journaling.
I love it.
I buy a composition notebook every month. I buy them at the dollar store, actually, often. When I buy them overseas, because we don't have dollar stores in Japan, and we have Daiso, but not dollar stores. Anyway, so buy a composition notebook because I like the hard. Find yourself a notebook that you like, a format that you like, that is not expensive. Because I found that if you buy expensive notebooks, you like save them for a rainy day. Like, I'll save this for a special occasion. You never fucking use them. Find yourself a notebook that you like, that you feel comfortable abusing, and then write, if you can, daily, 2-3 pages daily whenever possible. And I accord the importance to that I would accord to eating, because that's another way to connect with yourself religiously, mindfully, regularly. And if you keep writing, even if you don't know what to write, you don't have to write anything intelligent. It's not for anybody else. It's for yourself. And even if you can't think of anything else that you have to write about your laundry list or your to-do list or whatever it is, or the things that are irritating you, whatever it is. And if you persevere in the process of doing that religiously, regularly, you will find that sooner or later, you find transformation occurring in your life indirectly, because you can't put something on the page too often without it motivating you to do something about it. Or through the process of synchronicity, if you believe in that, through the universe saying, we should send this person something or some opportunity or whatever it is to help them on their way of changing that. I read about this for the first time in a book called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron when I was 23, almost 30 years ago. And she recommended this for artists. But then shortly thereafter, I read that Leonard Cohen, the late Canadian poet and singer-songwriter, actually committed to putting 3 pages down of writing every day of his adult life. And I'm such a fan of Leonard Cohen. Leonard Cohen is one of my biggest influences in his spiritual struggles and everything. And I thought, okay, no, so that's why I have been doing this for decades. As I said, I view this as being as important as eating. Yeah. It's only on the days where I absolutely am burnt out, where I've worked, 16 hours or 18 hours and I only have time to eat and sleep that I shan't do it. But even if I can, I'll be scribbling on the train or on the bus or whatever it is to a gig. I need to get this done to make sure I'm connecting with myself, to make sure I'm looking at the gas meter on the car. How's the gas meter? How's the oil meter? We need to keep this machine functioning as well as possible.
I love that. I think that's great advice, because I feel that one of the things I brought up numerous times throughout this podcast and even a previous podcast that I did is the journaling. Yeah, I think it's very important. I feel that, like you said, it doesn't have to be about anything specific, just writing. It's like, number one, it's good for our brain. It keeps our brain moving. And like you said, though, if you've had like a crazy 18-hour day, maybe you're not going to probably do it, but you've had a very filled day. So a lot of times I feel that sometimes it kind of goes in with what I recommend to even clients of mine with that journal is you can even do something as simple as like a gratitude journal. Like, what are you grateful for? Because you and I, like, I'm grateful that we're doing this podcast. I'm grateful that we got to have this conversation. I'm grateful that I got to wake up today. I got to talk with my sister. I got to talk with my mom. I got to, so I got to talk with my partner. Like there are things that we take for granted. And I feel that when you get to journal, when you get to even just basic journaling is great. But even taking that a step further to gratitude, we all should be grateful for every single day. We should be writing something down that we're grateful for, because we're here, we're living, we're alive, we're breathing. You're married, I have a partner. Like, we have connectivity. We have these people in our lives. We get to do fun things. You got to write a book. You got to go on, to sing. Like, there's so many things that we get to do that we really should be writing about and talking about.
I love what you're saying about gratitude, because as you may know, things attract things that are similar. They say birds of a feather. Well, there's a resonance. Resonance attracts resonance. Frequencies attract frequencies. And so you may know this already, but if you have a problem early in the morning and you stub your toe or something and you say, "Oh, I'm having a bad day," then you're getting on the bad day frequency and your train will be late. Someone will bump into you. You're on the bad day frequency. So bad shit is going to keep on coming to you. Like, I have God bless him, I have an acquaintance who's a very talented artist who always complains on Facebook. He's always complaining, "Oh, this bad thing happened to me, this bad thing happened to me, this bad thing." I'm noticing a pattern, and I'm thinking maybe some of it isn't his fault. Some things in this universe, we can't control everything. As I said earlier, I'm not God, I can't control everything. But if we bring ourselves consistently on that frequency of bad things, bad things, bad things, then bad things are coming. So as you were saying, or to connect with what you were saying about the importance of gratitude, and this is something I should learn right now because I was struggling with depression for weeks, if we make a mindful practice of daily connecting with what am I grateful for, then we get on good things happen to me, and we'll attract more and more good things as a result of frequencies aligning with frequencies. And so, yeah, it's definitely very important. Thank you for bringing that lesson to me. I'm going to practice that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Today. I'm going to start incorporating that more into my journaling, or maybe I'll even start a separate journal I think I'll do that. I'm going to start a separate journal for gratitude where I'll write a list every day of things that I'm grateful for, and it will help me be more on that positive frequency so I can attract more positive things to me. Thank you so much, Jonathan.
People can believe what you want to believe, but like the frequency thing, I've talked with that. I feel like I've talked about it before, but like the power of attraction, the things you put
Mhm,
out there, the things that you're
mm,
saying, like
mm,
you said, your acquaintance, the negative,
mm,
negative, negative, negative. Well, when you're talking about the more positive, 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 the more positive things are happening. You'll see, oh, I got to see this. I experienced this. And when you see, I mean, I used to always joke, a really good friend of mine that I used to work with years ago, everything, she always had oh my gosh, her attitude was always amazing. It was so
mm,
great.
mm.
And I used to joke with her, it's like, you need to play the lottery. You would be a
Oh, wow.
multimillionaire. If
Yeah.
like what? Like she's like, no, 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 I'm not going to ever do that. Because I remember she went to the holiday party and she won this massive big screen TV, and she's like,
Wow.
and then the next year she won something big again, and she would. I'm
Wow.
like, and I think she's putting out that positivity. She's one of the most amazing people I've ever met. I think when you put that out there, those frequencies they come together, and you
Sure, for sure.
when you're putting out the negativity, it's the same thing. Unfortunately, the negativity is going to all come together. And I think when we can think more positively, in the end, everything's going to be better.
I
Now,
love so go ahead, go ahead.
yeah, I just think in general, like, yeah, life happens and we're going to have crazy things happen. But I feel the positivity is what's going to keep us in a better light, in a better mood, and just happier in general. So,
I love what you're saying there, and I'd like to tell the doubters, I mean, I don't really need to convince anybody, but I'd like to tell the doubters that there are actually YouTube videos of, scientists bringing out tuning forks, and, if you've seen this maybe. If you resonate A440, it won't make most things resonate, but if you bring another tuning fork of A440 beside it, and you make one resonate, it will make the other one resonate, the matching tuning forks. Frequency does scientifically respond to frequency. And what you were saying about your friend being so lucky, despite all the fucking obstacles that I've lived with in my life, chronic depression, my heart condition, growing up in poverty, whatever, for decades, I've consistently told people I'm one of the luckiest people I know. And lucky things happen to me. And some of my haters will say, why is Laurier always so lucky? Well, it's partially fucking effort, is partially because behind the scenes, I'm busting my ass contacting hundreds of people, on a regular basis, if not daily. So I'm really making more efforts than people see. But
yeah.
also, I do try, despite my chronic depression that I've lived in my life, I do try to be like your friend. I've always tried to bring sunshine to the world, and then ideally, sunshine will come to me.
I think that's the best way to live. I mean,
Mm,
yeah, like you said, there's a lot of stuff, happening in the background and whatever you
mm,
might be working on. But,
mm,
when we're putting out that positivity, we're seeing the better things. Like if
mm,
I get stuck in crazy traffic, it's just
mm,
like, okay, well, guess what? Boom, I'm going to start listening to this music. This makes me
mm,
happy. This will keep me,
mm,
in a better mood.
mm,
And I think that, or me, because I might be a podcaster, but I also listen to podcasts as well.
mm,
I'm like, let's listen to that podcast. This looks like this is going to take a while. So, okay, boom. So I think that when you're putting things in your life in front
mm,
of you, you're just going to have your overall things are going to probably go better for you
mm,
if it's in a positive light. I try to do a very good job of keeping negativity out of my life. And I think
mm,
that in the end, we're all gonna have stress. But I think when
mm.
we keep the negativity at bay as much as we can, things are gonna be better.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
So, Laurier, I
Mm,
thank you so much for
thank
bringing
you.
your poetry, your honesty, your humor, and your full self to this conversation. Your book, 55 Ways to Survive, is so needed,
Mm,
especially for LGBTQ plus folks navigating identity,
mm,
mental health, and the courage to stay. You've given us wisdom, heart, and reminders that survival itself is art. I know our listeners are going to be deeply moved by your story. So, for everyone listening, if Laurier's story resonated with you, go grab their book, 55 Ways to Survive, at the link in the show notes. Support queer artists. Share this episode with someone who needs a reminder that they're not alone. And if you're navigating identity, purpose, or confidence in your own career or creative life, connect with me at Empowered and Out Coaching. We don't do this journey alone. So until next time, honor your truth, trust your survival, and let your creativity be a companion on the hard days. Stay empowered, stay present, and stay rooted in your own brilliance.